Fiona woke to sunlight streaming across unfamiliar sheets and the warm weight of Kai's arm draped across her waist. For a moment, she lay perfectly still, letting reality settle over her like a second skin. She spent the night with her boss. She'd cheated on her boyfriend. She crossed every professional and personal boundary that existed. And she didn't regret a single second of it. Kai stirred behind her, his lips finding the curve of her shoulder. "Good morning," he murmured, his voice still rough with sleep. "Morning." She turned in his arms, finding him watching her with an intensity that made her breath catch. His hair was mussed, falling across his forehead, and without the armor of his suits, he looked younger, more vulnerable. The tattoos that covered his arms and neck seemed softer in the morning light, less intimidating and more beautiful. "Any regrets?" he asked quietly. "About last night? No." She traced one of the patterns on his chest. "About everything else, I have a lot to figure out. Derek. Derek and work, and what this means for both of us." She met his eyes. "I don't do casual, Kai. I can't be your secret or your distraction. If we're doing this, I need to know what we're doing." His hand cupped her face, thumb stroking her cheek. "I don't do casual either. When I want something, I go after it completely. No half measures." He paused. "I want you, Fiona, not as a secret, not as something temporary. I want to see where this goes properly, openly." "That's going to complicate things at work." "Probably, but I'd rather deal with complicated than pretend this doesn't exist." He kissed her forehead. "Besides, I own 40% of Sterling and Associates. If anyone has a problem with me dadding my secretary, they can take it up with me directly." "Dadding your secretary," Fiona repeated. "That sounds so scandalous when you say it like that." "Does it bother you?" "It should. By every rule I've ever learned about professional conduct, it absolutely should." She smiled despite herself. "But somehow, with you, I can't bring myself to care about the rules." "Good, because I plan to break several more of them." He rolled her onto her back, settling his weight over her. "Starting with the one about keeping breakfast meetings strictly professional." She laughed, pulling him down for a kiss that quickly turned heated. They made love again as morning light filled the room, slower this time, learning each other with a thoroughness that spoke of time and intention rather than urgency. Afterward, Kai made them breakfast while Fiona borrowed one of his shirts, the fabric falling to mid-thigh. She perched on a stool at his kitchen island, watching him move around the space with easy competence. "You cook?" she asked as he set a plate of perfectly scrambled eggs and toast in front of her. "My mother insisted all her children learn. She said depending on others for basic survival skills was a weakness." He poured them both coffee. "Though I'll admit my repertoire is limited. Breakfast I can handle. Anything more complex usually ends in takeout." "I'll keep that in mind." They ate in comfortable silence, but Fiona's mind was already spinning ahead to everything she needed to do. Breaking up with Derek properly. Facing the office. Figuring out how to navigate a relationship with her boss without destroying her career or her self-respect. "What are you thinking?" Kai asked, reading her expression. "That reality is about to crash down on us pretty hard." "Probably." He reached across the counter, taking her hand. "We'll handle it together." "You make it sound simple." "It is simple. The execution might be complicated, but the core of it, that's simple. I want to be with you. You want to be with me. Everything else is just logistics." Fiona wished she had his confidence, but as she looked at their joined hands, at the certainty in his expression, she felt some of her anxiety ease. Maybe he was right. Maybe they could figure this out. The conversation with Derek was worse than she'd anticipated, though not for the reasons she'd expected. She'd gone home mid-morning after Kai had reluctantly driven her back, both of them knowing she needed to handle this before moving forward. Derek was on the couch playing video games when she walked in, barely glancing up from the screen. "Where were you last night?" he asked, not pausing his game. "I tried calling." "We need to talk." She sat down, forcing him to look at her. "Derek, this isn't working, this relationship. It hasn't been working for a while." Now she had his attention. He paused the game, turning to face her with an expression that was more annoyed than hurt. "Are you seriously doing this right now? Where is this coming from?" "It's been coming for months, maybe longer." She took a breath. We're not happy, neither of us. We're just comfortable, and that's not enough anymore. So what, you're just going to throw away 2 years because you're not feeling it? His voice rose. That's not how relationships work, Fiona. You don't just quit when things get boring. It's not about being bored. It's about being honest. We want different things. We've grown in different directions. And I think if you're really honest with yourself, you'll admit you feel it too. He stood up, packing. Is there someone else? Fiona hesitated. She could lie, make this easier, but she just committed to being honest, to doing this properly. Yes, but that's not why I'm ending this. I would be having this conversation regardless, because staying with you when I'm not in love with you anymore wouldn't be fair to either of us. Who is it? His face had gone red. Someone from work, that Korean guy, the executive. I saw the way he looked at you that time I came by the office. It doesn't matter who it is. What matters is that us, is over. I'm sorry, Derek. You deserve someone who's all in, and I'm not that person anymore. The argument that followed was ugly but mercifully brief. Derek oscillated between anger and wounded pride, but underneath it all, Fiona could see the relief. He'd been as checked out as she had, just too comfortable to do anything about it. By the time she'd packed a bag of essentials and called a car, they'd reached a cold truce. He'd keep the apartment through the end of the lease. She'd come back for the rest of her things when he wasn't there. Clean, clinical, the death of something that had been dying for months. She texted Kai from the car. It's done. I'm staying at a hotel until I find a place. His response came immediately. Come here. I have a guest room if you want space, but don't stay in a hotel. That's moving fast. I have 4 bedrooms. You can have your own space, your own privacy. Just let me help, please. She directed the driver to his address. Monday morning arrived with the weight of inevitable confrontation. Fiona had spent the weekend at Kai's apartment, true to his word in the guest room, though they'd spent most of their time together. They'd talked for hours, learning each other's histories and dreams and fears. They'd cooked together, laughed together, made love with an intensity that still made her blush thinking about it. But now, walking into Sterling and Associates with Kai at her side, the bubble they'd created was about to pop spectacularly. They agreed to be direct about their relationship. No sneaking around, no pretending nothing had changed. If they were going to do this, they'd do it honestly. The elevator ride-up was silent, charged with anticipation. When the doors opened on their floor, Kai took her hand. Ready? He asked quietly. Not even a little bit. Good, that makes 2 of us. He squeezed her hand, but we're doing it anyway. The reaction was immediate and varied. Melissa's eyes went wide as she watched them walk in together, clearly together. Other secretaries whispered behind their hands. A few executives did double takes. By the time they reached Fiona's desk, she could feel the weight of dozens of stares. Kai leaned down, kissing her cheek in full view of everyone. I'll see you at lunch, he said clearly, making sure his voice carried. Then he headed to his office, leaving Fiona to face the inevitable inquisition alone. Melissa appeared at her desk within 30 seconds. Okay, you have to tell me everything. When did this happen? How did this happen? Is that why you look completely exhausted and radiant at the same time? It's new, Fiona said carefully. We're figuring it out as we go. You know people are going to talk, right? Like, this is going to be the only thing anyone discusses for weeks. I know, but I'm not going to hide it or apologize for it. She met Melissa's eyes. I like him, really like him, and life's too short to pass up something real because I'm worried about office gossip. Melissa's expression softened. Good for you, seriously. Though I have to admit, I'm a little terrified on your behalf. Dadding the boss is complicated enough without Jaiwoo Park circling like a shark. As if summoned by her name, Jaiwoo appeared at the elevator at precisely 9:30, dressed in a cream suit that probably cost more than Fiona's monthly salary. Her eyes found Fiona immediately, then tracked to Kai's office, then back to Fiona with an expression that could have frozen fire. She approached with measured steps, her smile perfectly controlled. Fiona, I didn't expect to see you here this morning. I thought perhaps you'd be taking some personal time after your breakup. The implication was clear. She knew. Somehow she already knew everything. I prefer to keep busy, Fiona said evenly. Is there something I can help you with? Actually, I'm here to see Kai. We have a meeting about the soul expansion. Jaiwoo's smile sharpened. A very important meeting, one that could determine the entire future direction of his family's business interests in Asia. He didn't mention a meeting this morning. Oh, didn't he? How interesting. Jaiwoo leaned closer, lowering her voice. Let me give you some advice, woman to woman. Kai is a brilliant businessman, but he's also impulsive when it comes to personal matters. Right now, you're new and exciting, but the novelty will wear off, and when it does, he'll remember where his real priorities lie, with his family, his culture, his future. I think Kai is capable of deciding his own priorities. Is he, or is he just doing what he always does, pursuing something forbidden because the chase is more interesting than the prize? Jaiwoo straightened. You seem like a nice woman. I'd hate to see you get hurt when reality sets in. Before Fiona could respond, Kai's office door opened. He took in the scene, Jaiwoo at Fiona's desk, the tension evident in both women's postures, and his expression hardened. Jaiwoo, I don't recall scheduling a meeting with you. Your mother asked me to stop by. She has concerns about the expansion timeline. Jaiwoo's tone was perfectly professional now. Do you have a few minutes? Kai glanced at Fiona, a silent question in his eyes. She gave a small nod, even though everything in her wanted to tell Jaiwoo to leave. This was part of his world, his business. She couldn't be the jealous girlfriend who created problems. Fine, 15 minutes. He held his office door open, waiting for Jaiwoo to enter. She did, but not before giving Fiona one last look, part warning, part triumph, that made Fiona's stomach twist. The 15 minutes stretched to 30, then an hour. Fiona tried to focus on her work, but her attention kept drifting to Kai's office where Jaiwoo sat across from him, animated and clearly comfortable. Through the glass, she could see them talking in Korean, Jaiwoo occasionally laughing at something he said, touching his arm in that familiar way that spoke of long history. Melissa appeared with coffee. Stop torturing yourself by watching. I'm not watching, I'm just observing. You're watching and spiraling, don't let her get in your head. What if she's right, though? What if this is just... Stop! Melissa set the coffee down firmly. I've worked here for 3 years. I've seen Kai with dozens of women, including Jaiwoo, and I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you, like you're the only person in the room, like you matter more than any deal or business arrangement. We've only been together for a few days. Sometimes a few days is all it takes to know. Melissa squeezed her shoulder. Have a little faith in him, in yourself, in what you two have. Finally, Kai's office door opened. Jaiwoo emerged looking satisfied, which immediately put Fiona on edge. She stopped at Fiona's desk one more time. It was lovely chatting with Kai. We have so much catching up to do. She adjusted her purse. Oh, and Fiona, you should ask him about the dinner with his family next Friday. I'm sure he's planning to tell you about it, any day now. She left in a cloud of expensive perfume and subtle menace. Kai appeared a moment later, rubbing his temples. I'm sorry about that. My mother has apparently decided to insert herself into my personal life via Jaiwoo. What dinner? Fiona asked. He sighed. Friday night. My parents want to meet you. Well, actually, they want to try to talk me out of this relationship, but they're calling it meeting you to be polite. And you were planning to tell me when? Tonight. I wanted to talk about it properly, not spring it on you in the middle of a workday after Jaiwoo spent an hour trying to manipulate the situation. He sat on the edge of her desk. This is going to be complicated, Fiona. My family has very specific expectations about who I should be with. Expectations that include Jaiwoo. Expectations that include someone Korean, from the right kind of family, who understands the business and cultural dynamics. He took her hand. But what they expect and what I want are two very different things. I need you to know that. What if they hate me? They won't hate you. They'll probably try to intimidate you, test you, make you feel like you don't belong, but they won't hate you. His smile was wry. My mother is a formidable woman. She built half the family business from nothing. She doesn't hate people. She just has very strong opinions about what's best for her children. This sounds terrifying. It will be, but I'll be right there with you. He leaned closer. And after we survive dinner with my parents, we'll come back here, and I'll make it up to you in every way I can think of. Despite her anxiety, Fiona felt herself smile. That's quite a promise. I'm very good at keeping promises. The week passed in a blur of work, stolen moments, and increasing office speculation. Some people were supportive, others clearly disapproving. A few executives made pointed comments about professionalism that Kai shut down with icy efficiency. Fiona found herself constantly aware of being watched, evaluated, measured against some invisible standard. But through it all, Kai was steady. He'd bring her coffee in the morning, kiss her goodbye when she left his apartment, defend her in meetings where others tried to undermine her. He made his choice clear in 100 small ways that slowly began to quiet the worst of the gossip. Jaiwoo, however, remained a constant presence. She'd appear at the office with increasing frequency, always with some business reason that required Kai's attention. She was never overtly hostile, just persistently there, a reminder of everything she represented, the path of least resistance, the choice that would make everyone happy except possibly Kai himself. Friday arrived too quickly. Fiona spent an hour agonizing over what to wear, finally settling on a navy dress that was professional but not stuffy, elegant but not trying too hard. Kai picked her up at 6, looking devastatingly handsome in a dark suit. "You look beautiful," he said, kissing her softly, "and terrified." Accurate on both counts. "My parents are going to love you, or at least respect you, which in my mother's case is basically the same thing." He held her coat. "And if things get too uncomfortable, we'll leave. I'm not going to let them bully you." The restaurant was in Koreatown, upscale and clearly expensive. Kai's parents were already seated when they arrived, his father distinguished and quiet, his mother elegant and sharp-eyed in a way that made Fiona immediately understand where Kai got his intensity. The introductions were polite, conducted in English for Fiona's benefit, though she caught the quick exchange in Korean between Kai and his mother that seemed to involve some disagreement. Dinner was an exercise in subtle interrogation. Mrs. Yoon asked about Fiona's family, her education, her career goals, each question seemingly innocent but weighted with evaluation. Mr. Yoon was quieter, observing, occasionally asking a question that cut straight to the heart of matters. "So you work as my son's secretary," Mrs. Yoon said at one point. "That must be an interesting position." "I find it fulfilling. Kai, Mr. Yoon, is brilliant at what he does. It's rewarding to support that kind of vision." "And now you're also his girlfriend. Don't you find that dynamic complicated?" "Mother," Kai warned. "It's a reasonable question." Mrs. Yoon's gaze never left Fiona. "Mixing professional and personal relationships can be challenging, especially when there's such a significant power imbalance." "There's no power imbalance in our personal relationship," Fiona said carefully. "At work, yes, he's my boss, but when we're together as a couple, we're equals, partners." "Partners?" Mrs. Yoon seemed to taste the word. "Tell me, Fiona, what do you know about Korean culture? About what it means to be part of a Korean family with significant business interests across 2 countries?" "Very little, honestly, but I'm willing to learn." "Willing to learn?" Mrs. Yoon set down her chopsticks. "Let me be direct, since that seems to be the American way. My son has responsibilities to his family, to our business, to our culture. The woman he chooses to be with will become part of all of that. It's not simply about what you're willing to learn. It's about whether you can handle the reality of what that life entails." "With respect, Mrs. Yoon, I think that's something Kai and I need to figure out together, not something that can be decided over one dinner." "Bold." Mrs. Yoon's expression was unreadable. "Jaiwoo warned me you had spirit." "Jaiwoo has been very informative about a lot of things," Fiona said evenly. "I'm sure she has. She's known Kai since they were children. She understands what this life requires." Mrs. Yoon leaned forward slightly. "You seem like a nice young woman, intelligent, well-spoken, but nice isn't enough. This world, our world, it will eat you alive if you're not prepared for it." "Mother, that's enough." Kai's voice was sharp. "Fiona is not on trial here." "Isn't she? You bring home a woman you've known for months, who works for you, who has no connection to our culture or business. What did you expect? That we'd simply smile and accept it without question." "I expected you to respect my choices, to trust that I know what I'm doing." "Do you?" Mrs. Yoon switched to Korean, speaking rapidly. Kai responded in kind, their voices rising slightly in clear disagreement. Mr. Yoon finally spoke, his voice quiet but commanding attention. Enough, both of you. He looked at Fiona. My wife's concerns, though perhaps not expressed with ideal diplomacy, are not without merit. Our family has certain expectations. But he held up a hand as Mrs. Yoon started to speak. We also raised our son to make his own decisions, to honor his commitments and choose his own path. He turned to Kai. If this young woman is your choice, then we will respect that. But you must understand, son, that choices have consequences. For you, for her, for all of us. The rest of the dinner was strained but civil. By the time they left, Fiona felt exhausted from the constant vigilance, the weight of being evaluated and found potentially wanting. In the car, Kai reached for her hand. I'm sorry, that was worse than I anticipated. Your mother really doesn't approve of me. My mother doesn't approve of change, or anything that threatens her carefully constructed vision of how things should be. He brought her hand to his lips. But what she thinks doesn't change what I feel, what I want. What if she's right, though? What if I can't handle your world? Then we'll figure it out together. But I don't think she's right. I think you're stronger than she gives you credit for, stronger than you give yourself credit for. They drove in silence for a while. Fiona's mind churning with everything that had been said and left unsaid. Finally, she spoke. Jaiwoo was there, wasn't she? Before dinner, your mother talked to her. Probably, Jaiwoo has been in my mother's ear for years, positioning herself as the ideal daughter-in-law. He pulled into his building's garage. It doesn't change anything, Fiona. My mother's approval would be nice, but it's not required. You are required. In my life, in my future. That's a lot of pressure. I know, but it's also the truth. He cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. I'm falling in love with you. Maybe I already have. And I'm not going to let my mother's disapproval or Jaiwoo's machinations or office gossip change that. Fiona felt tears prick her eyes. This is happening so fast. Too fast. No, just fast. She kissed him softly. I'm falling for you too. That's what scares me. How much I already feel. How much it would hurt if this didn't work out. Then we make it work out. He kissed her again, deeper this time. Come upstairs. Let me show you exactly how committed I am to making this work. They made love that night with a desperation that spoke of everything unspoken, the fears, the hopes, the recognition that they were in deeper than either had planned. Afterward, wrapped in his arms, Fiona felt the anxiety of the evening begin to ease. Maybe they could figure this out. Maybe love was enough. She was almost asleep when Kai's phone buzzed on the nightstand. He reached for it, and she felt him tense beside her. What is it? She murmured. Email from my mother's attorney. His voice was carefully neutral. She's proposing a restructuring of the family business holdings, one that would require me to relocate to Seoul for at least 2 years to oversee the expansion. Fiona sat up, suddenly wide awake. What, when? The proposal is for early next year, 4 months from now. He was still reading, his face illuminated by the phone's glow. This is a major opportunity, the kind that could position me to take over the entire Asian operations eventually. But you'd have to move to Seoul. Yes. For 2 years. Minimum. They stared at each other in the darkness, the weight of this new complication settling between them like a physical presence. When were you going to tell me about this? Fiona asked quietly. I didn't know. This proposal, it's new. My mother must have been working on it for weeks, maybe months. He set the phone down. This is her move, her way of forcing the issue. What issue? Choosing between the family business and you, between the life she's planned for me and the one I'm trying to build. His jaw tightened. She's essentially saying, come to Seoul, take this position, marry someone appropriate, probably Jaiwoo, or give up any significant role in the company. That's blackmail. That's my mother, he pulled Fiona close. But she's miscalculated. She thinks I'll choose the business, choose the path of least resistance. Won't you? Fiona heard the vulnerability in her own voice. This is your family's legacy, your future, everything you've worked for. It's one possible future, but there are others. He tilted her face up to his. I meant what I said earlier. You're not negotiable. Whatever decision I make about Seoul, about the business, about my future, you're part of that equation, not an obstacle to work around. But if you turn this down because of me, you'll resent it eventually. Resent me. And if I choose the business over you, I'd regret it for the rest of my life. He kissed her forehead. We'll figure this out, Fiona. I don't know how yet, but we will. She wanted to believe him. But as she lay in his arms, staring at the ceiling while dawn began to creep through the windows, doubt crept in with equal insistence. 4 months. In 4 months, Kai might be gone to Seoul for 2 years. And where would that leave them? A long-distance relationship trying to survive across continents and time zones? Or would this be the natural ending point, the place where reality finally caught up with their impulsive passion? And underneath all of that, one question echoed louder than the rest. Was she enough? Enough for him to turn down this opportunity? Enough to be worth the conflict with his family? Enough to build a future on? She didn't have answers. And as the sun rose over the city, painting Kai's bedroom in shades of gold and amber, Fiona realized that the hardest test of their relationship wasn't going to be office gossip or Jaiwoo's interference or even his mother's disapproval. It was going to be whether what they had, this intense, overwhelming, complicated love, could survive when faced with an impossible choice.